Sinking sound. 1, 2, 3. Hi everyone, it's Jan from Jan Plans Things, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new dot grid journals from MiGoals. So they sent these to me to review for you guys. They're a little bit different to, I think, bullet journals that most of us would be used to because they have a lot less pages. But I'm going to go through the features first, and then we'll do a watercolor and pen test with them. So the dot grid journal, they come in, I've received them in these two colors. So this is like a brown natural color, and then this one is black, and they both have these glossy black dots on the front and the word dot grid in the corner, and they are they're 64 pages and 100 GSM. So as a comparison, the Leuchtturm, for example, has 274 pages and is 80 GSM, so it's got a thicker paper but less pages. So we'll pull this one out so it's a little bit easier to see. The back of the journal has this little stitching all the way down, and it's got the MiGoals at the back. And when you flip it open, you can kind of see how the stitching lies here. It's kind of got a really nice effect. The only thing you do have to consider though is that because it's stitched this way, the pages don't lie flat. So they have this kind of like little bump here, but because the books are so thin, it might not matter so much because it's not got that large amount of pages to pull over on the other side. So let's look at the front. So the front of this notebook, it comes with this nice little brochure from MiGoals. It's about hustling, working hard, and then we've got a little message from Adam Jalick, the founder of MiGoals, and if I butchered his name, I'm very, very sorry in advance. At the front, we've got the area where you can make your symbols and keys, which is very similar to the bullet journal system, but they've got different symbols, and I think it's encouraged to make your own and also color code them to match what you need to do. And after the legend, we go immediately to the dot grid, and I actually really like how they've done the numbers in the corner. They've kind of removed the bottom dot and then replaced it with the number. The dots are quite prominent though, so they're much darker than on the Leuchtturm. So that might be something that you want to think about when you're considering these journals. And then if we flip to the back, we've got the index pages. So I think in the Leuchtturm these are at the beginning. It has create your future in the bottom corner, and then it has also a little pocket where you can slide things. Though I think this is glued because it's made of paper, so I wouldn't recommend you putting too much stuff in there. But that being said, these books are already thin already, so you wouldn't be sliding too many things. That may be the errant business card that you might get every now and again. So a couple of things to consider though is that because these books are really thin, they might work really well for those of you guys who are using these journals in a traveler style notebook, like a Midori style notebook with like a leather or cloth cover. And because I think you could slide the elastic around the center of this pretty well with the stitching and everything, and it just means that you can kind of just hold it in place, and you can have one book for your collections, one book for your planning, and you can kind of leave your collections there, and then as you work through your weeklies, you can just replace the weekly book instead of replacing your whole journal. So that might be, if you're using that type of system, this might work really well for you. That's one of the benefits of having a thinner book, I guess, and also it is soft cover. They do say in there, let me just pull out what the back of this says. So it says they're eco-friendly and they're fountain pen friendly, which makes me pretty happy. Fountain pen friendly normally means that it has some coating on it so that the ink doesn't bleed through. So hopefully that means that it's quite resilient to watercolors. So what I might do is I'll do some painting and then I'll do a traditional pen test as well. So I think I might do some florals this time around. So let's get started. So for today's watercolor painting, I'm going to be using watercolors from Letter Sparrow. She makes handmade watercolors, so it'd be pretty interesting how they react. The brush that I'm using is the Isabe size 4 Kolinsky, and I'm basically doing florals. I like florals because it means that I can quickly layer on some colors as part of the effect of the painting. So you can see I'm going back there and just adding a little bit more paint and just seeing if that causes any reaction with the paper. I'm finding that the paper isn't actually buckling that much, but that being said, I'm not doing large amounts of washes, but it is holding up pretty well. Basically what you'd expect for paper that's advertised as being fountain pen friendly. Um, when I'm doing florals like this, I do like just going back and just kind of, when I'm painting, I just let the paint fade because I feel like that adds some variation to the leaves without you having to do very much. Sometimes I might dab on some extra colors when I'm going back and then just put those on top of the colors that I had before. So kind of just like what you just saw then, where I blend a little bit of the red on top of the yellow. And I'm kind of just freehanding this a lot, but I kind of, a lot of people ask me how long it takes me to do something like this, and I timed this one, it was about 10 minutes. So it is a nice fast thing to do once you get used to it, and I find it a really good way to swatch watercolors. I'm interested to see how this paper reacts, and mainly because like the if you're using it for a traveler's notebook, a lot of people love using those types of notebooks for sketching, so it would be great if this paper held up. I do have a few other My Goals notebooks, and they have beautiful hardcovers, so I'm hoping in the future they might make one with a hardcover design. I'm just going back here now and I'm just adding some extra pens so that we can see how they react on the back of the page, see how they go with bleeding and ghosting. So you saw me use the pocket brush pen, and now I'm using the Tombow Fudenosuke. A lot of you ask what the difference between bleeding and ghosting is. Ghosting is kind of like you see like the faded words on the back of the page, and bleeding is when the ink actually goes through. So I can stand ghosting. I don't mind it at all, but I just can't deal with bleeding. Okay, this time around I tried to do a wreath. I did a couple of layers here just to see how the paper would react. So let's have a look at how that went. So now that's actually quite good. You can see the areas where I layered quite a bit of water. It hasn't really come through at all. It has ghosted a little bit. The Pentel pocket brush, you can see it probably will bleed through if I went over it a few more times, but that's pretty much the same as the LT. So you can kind of see that those are the most prominent things. There's a little bit of ghosting on the Tombow Fudenosuke pen, which I use for the lettering, and then I use a Micron with the Tombow on the outside and a little bit of mild line as well. So all of those have ghosted a little bit, but overall it hasn't bled through at all. So that's actually really good. So it means that it's quite resilient, and I wouldn't mind using the back of this page at all because I find that with the LT you get a lot more ghosting than this, so it kind of disappears for me after a while. So I'm actually quite impressed with how this paper is held up. So it in and itself, it doesn't react quite the same as the LT. The LT, because the coating, I think it's a little bit shinier. The paint tends to sit on the top a little bit more, but this one, it soaks in just a little bit, and it does give you a little bit of time to blend some colors. You can kind of see how it's like bled in a little bit here where I dropped the colors in. So that's something that you can consider as well. But otherwise, I think these are pretty good notebooks, and I think they're more ideal for those that are using the Traveler notebook system, and less so if you want to be doing large amounts of journaling, because I think you'd go through the pages pretty quickly. And also the other thing, with them being a soft cover, it's more likely that you'll need to have some sort of protection for it if you're dropping it in your handbag or your backpack a lot, so they might get damaged. But otherwise, this is quite nice. So hopefully in the future, MiGoals comes out with a thicker version as well, because they do really nice hardcover notebooks. So it'd be really great to see one of those, and maybe with some flat binding with this paper. If I were to use this notebook often, I think I'd prefer to have the dots a little bit lighter as well. I think that would help the artwork stand out a little bit more. The pages are a little creamy, which might change the opinions of some people, but otherwise, that's kind of like a quick overview of this notebook, and I do feel like it's performed pretty well. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. But thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.